Our film starts with a group of friends hanging out together at a bar, brainstorming something new to do in their lives. They come up with the idea of going hiking and they all agree to it, deciding to hike to Sweden. As they leave the bar to buy drinks, they find the cashier beaten and tied up on the floor. The gang members who did this enter the place, and one of the friends called Luke hides when he sees them. However, Robert doesn't manage to hide, and one of the gang members asks him to hand over his wallet. Then he demands Robert remove his ring, but Robert refuses as it's his wedding ring. The criminal gets angry and hits Robert, killing him. Throughout all this, Luke witnesses everything but remains hidden and afraid to intervene. 6 months later, we see Luke and his group hiking in Sweden, each coming out of their tent for breakfast and hiking. They reach the top of a hill and put up a picture of their friend Robert, expressing their love for him and regret over his fate. They reminisce about their memories with him. After a while, they sit together, but Luke stands alone, feeling guilty for not helping Robert. One of his friends comes to comfort him and they talk about their journey. The next day, the weather turns extremely bad, and one of them, named Don, falls and injures his leg. He tries to walk on it but struggles. So they look at the map, and Hutch suggests to Luke privately that they either carry Don or take a shortcut through the forest, which is dangerous. Then, Don tells them he can walk, so they all decide to take the forest route, scared but determined. Along the way, they encounter a dead deer hanging from a tree with its intestines hanging out, terrifying them. Luke warns them that they are still in danger because the deer is still bleeding, so they must hurry. As they proceed, the weather worsens and it starts raining heavily. They find an abandoned house and take shelter there. Upon entering, they find it completely empty and unsettling. Phil, the second lead, explores the second floor and encounters a strange skeleton without a head but with horns instead of hands. Freaking him out, he calls out the others, but they don't understand what he's seeing. Phil suggests it might be magic, adding to their fear. Luke, extremely scared, tells them they should leave first thing in the morning and all go to bed. The next day, Luke wakes up first and finds an extremely bright light. When he opens the door, he finds himself in the same store where Robert died. He goes to grab a bottle of vodka but finds blood inside it. Suddenly, the place collapses around him and it feels like he's being shot in the chest. He rushes to his friends, finding Hutch extremely scared and Dom sitting on the side shattered. Then, he goes to Phil, who is sitting on the second floor in front of the strange body, making weird gestures as if worshipping it. They decide to quickly leave the place. As they exit, they find strange symbols on the trees, realizing it's a warning. Dom decides to walk as fast as he can in any possible way, and they all follow him. Phil tells them he doesn't know what he was doing in front of the body and needs an explanation, but nobody knows what to tell him. Hutch says they all felt weird things, and Dom insists he wouldn't have acted that way if he were awake. It must have been a nightmare. They continue their journey and find another house on the way but hesitate to enter because they're afraid. Halfway through, Dom can't continue walking because of his injured leg. Then Luke suggests he will go to the higher ground to see the nearest possible route they can return from. However, it's a forest, and suddenly he finds a hand holding a tree and a body moving from a distance, terrifying him. He rushes back to his friends and tells them what he saw, but they think he's joking or imagining it and don't believe him. Luke tells them that if it weren't for Dom's exhaustion, they would have been safe by now. So Dom gets upset and tells him that he left Rob and abandoned him when the incident happened. So they fight with each other and he walks away. On the way, they find a tent on the ground with a bag inside containing a wallet with a family photo. They get very scared, but they try to calm themselves by believing someone will come to them if they stay out late because they registered their names in a hotel, assuming that if they don't return on time, their disappearance will be reported. Night falls and they each go into their tents. Suddenly, Luke hears a noise coming from outside the tent, and when he looks out, he sees the scene of Robert's murder in front of him, with the criminal looking terrifying and accusing Luke of being a coward before quickly entering the tent. Then he hears a scream from outside, so he goes out and finds Hutch missing. Hearing his screams along with terrifying sounds, they decide to follow the sounds, but Dom objects because they might get lost. So they wait until morning, and when they go to look for Hutch, they find him hanging from a tree like the deer they saw when they first arrived, with his intestines hanging out. Luke realizes they have to hurry, but Dom insists they can't leave Hutch like that and must bury him. They bury him under the bushes and start walking again. On the way, they find water on the ground and drink from it, noticing footprints on the ground. So they get scared and take the opposite direction. After walking a while, they reach the mountain very tired, and Phil started behaving strangely, but Luke decides to continue the road and finds out they're almost at the end. So he goes back to tell them, but he finds Phil telling him they heard a strange creature's voice and suddenly he's abducted from there. Luke runs quickly, hits a tree hard, and gets knocked out immediately. He wakes up and finds a scene of Robert's murder in front of him. He gets up, takes Phil's flashlight that fell from him before being kidnapped, and hears the creature's voices around him. When he looks for Dom, he finds him hiding, so he goes to him, consoles him, and tells him he found a way back and will try to carry him until they leave this place. So they get up to leave, but they hear strange noises and see illusions, and suddenly a creature appears from behind the trees about to attack them, but they run away from it and find Phil hanging in a tree exactly like Hutch. After that, they walk along a lit path and find a house, quickly entering it to hide. However, someone hits them on the back of their heads from inside. When they wake up, they find themselves tied up and hear strange voices and words. Then Luke looks through a hole and sees a group of people with a strange appearance gathering wood. They try to break a glass to cut themselves free from the ropes, but they get interrupted by the strange people. An old woman from the group offers Luke water, and when she sees the tattoos on his arm, she realizes she has similar ones. She then goes to Dom, but he refuses to drink the water. Later, they take Dom with them, and Luke hears his voice from inside, tortured like Hutch's and Phil's when they were there. Then a girl enters and informs Luke that they offered Dom as a sacrifice to their god. The next day, they take Dom again, tying him up, and he tries to free himself until night falls. They all hear a loud noise, and the strange people prostrate on the ground. Dom notices that the trees are moving strangely and that the creature is approaching. At that moment, Dom manages to free his hand. Then Dom's wife came out from behind the tree and transformed into monsters, killing Dom and hanging him on a tree. After freeing himself, Luke pumps into the girl again, who tells him that their god who makes their lives better is the one responsible for these rituals. She informs him that today's ritual is delayed, and if he doesn't kneel to their god, he will suffer the same fate as his friends. After Luke frees himself completely, he starts moving around with a torch. He enters a place with living bodies that he decides to burn, causing the whole house to ignite. Before leaving, he encounters the old woman and hits her before leaving. The strange creature sees him and chases him. Hitting him forces him to kneel. Luke refuses to kneel. He glimpses an axe near him. Remembering his friends who died because of that creature, he gets himself together and hits the creature with it, then runs until he reaches the edge of the forest. The creature cannot follow him beyond the forest boundaries, so Luke is now the only one who survived that jungle and that monster. And that's it. If you like this recap, hit like, share, and subscribe to our channel to keep seeing content like this one. If you have any requests or thoughts, drop them below in the comment section, and we will see you at the next one. Peace out.